Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a great day today. You may notice a little something different, and that is my work surface. So, some of you, well, none of you probably know, but I work on a tabletop, but I actually cover it with contact paper, so it helps keep my table clean and in new condition, and I can switch this out. Well, I used to have the marble. Now I've got this beautiful wood grain, and it looks real on camera, but it is absolutely fake. And it doesn't matter if it get paint on it or anything. So you'll have this background going forward. But anyway, I wanted to come and do a watercolor today. I've got my Marie's Masters palette out, my little swatch sheet that's next to me, and I've got a lovely sheet of my B watercolor paper here. And so I think we should get cracking. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing better. Okay. I was so proud of my little background. I just had to show you all. All right. I think this should do it. And I got my paper towel here. I've got my water back here. And let's get cracking, shall we? All right. I am going to kind of play around with something a little bit different today, and we're going to experiment together. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I just want to try some different brush strokes. You know how I love to come in and do my big blobs of color and everything, but there's a couple of things I wanted to try, and I think I want to have a little bit of a lighter color palette today. So right now I'm dipping into the Indigo, which is a really gorgeous color. And I'm going to keep this a little bit more muted today. Next, I'm going to dip into my raw sienna here. It's kind of close to the yellow ochre, which I also really like. And I'm just going to put a little bit over there. Every color in my palette is Marie's Masters, except for this one right here. This is Buff Titanium. It's a Van Gogh tube watercolor, and I might play with that too. I kind of want to just play with some little dots and blobs and some almost neutral colors. Maybe we'll add some gold later, but just have a nice relaxing watercolor session. And so I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of a abstract through here, and I'm going to hold my brush from the back so I have less control. And let's start coming in here with some color. And that indigo is just really, really beautiful. And I'm going to dip right into that raw sienna and get that really nice little color going on there. And I'm just going to go back and forth. I don't really have to clean my brush a lot. Just relaxing with it, letting the colors blend on the page. I'm going to dip into my water and blot it pretty well and drag this out and just soften that edge like that. Same thing up here. Before it dries, I just want to soften that up. And blot some of that away. Okay. Now, how about we do some burnt umber? And that's this color here. And that's kind of dark, so I'm going to water it down a bit and just get it nice and diluted in my pan. And I love this cloudy look. Let's put some up here. I love that. Okay, I'm going to go back into that raw sienna and let that mix with that indigo that was left in the pan. And I'm going to come in here and just add a little bit of that. And like I said, I'm just going very cloudy with this and letting those light colors just sort of dance on the page. Nice. Give it a blot. Drag it a bit to soften this edge here. This one too. Why not? Let's come back into this indigo and let it just come right through here. I'm keeping it really light and just nice. And I think we can make some pretty nice doodles on this later. Or something. We'll figure it out. I really don't know what I want to do with it yet, but I do want to do something fun. I'm just going to dip into a little bit more of that indigo. And I'm going to let this edge over here be kind of hard, just like I've got on this end. Maybe I'll add a little bit in down here. I like that. What do we think, guys? How about we add just a little touch of that brown, the burnt umber, I should say. And I'm just dabbing it in a couple little spots on my paper that's still damp and letting it just sort of flow in there. All right, I love it. It's nice and neutral. All right, I'm going to let that dry and I'll be right back. Okay, we're all dry and I'm back. I am going to moisten this back up again and add a little bit more of this indigo to my paper. And I'm just going to do the same thing as before, but I'm going to let myself have some more hard edges. So I'm just going to drag a little bit on one side and just kind of drag it out gently onto my paper. And I'm going to kind of go in some places that have some extra contrast. So when I put it down, I'm then going to just do some light dragging. But I'm going to leave one of those edges hard. And I'm just going pretty easy with this, just as like a glazing technique, really. Like that. And I'm blotting pretty well for my drag. I don't want to get the rest of the paper too wet, so I'm just kind of smoothing it out with some light strokes. I'm going to leave that hard there. I like that. Okay. Maybe one more here. Like that. And maybe over here a little bit. And how about over here? Just like that. I think this is beautiful. All right. Now, this is still a little bit damp. I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put some more burnt umber in my tray here, and I'm going to add some more of this raw sienna, and I'm going to mix them together and get a pretty decent size puddle going here. I just want to try something, and my paper is still damp in several areas, and I've just got this little cap from my water bottle, and I'm gonna experiment with a couple of little light stamps, just like that. And I'm just gonna let them spread or not spread, however. I recently did another video that you'll see up probably, well, it's probably up before this one, and I did some really neat marks with a kind of a lid where it was with gold ink, and it was just really a neat effect. So I'm going to go partly into the damp areas, and you can see how it's kind of spreading out. I didn't mean to do that. So I'm just going to do a couple of these stamps. Nice. Let's link these two up. I don't want to have too many just kind of standalone circles. So I'm going to almost turn it into a little bit of a pattern, kind of coming off the page a little bit and maybe leading your eye through the painting a bit. And some of that will spread out a bit. I'm going to let this finish drying and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and we're all dry, and I love how this spread out. I've got some really nice spread here with the burnt umber and that raw sienna, and it just has this really nice cloudy look. I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see a little bit better. And this is what we're working with so far. I love that cloudy look, and it's kind of like neutral colors and just very calming. I have so many bright colors in my videos, so this is kind of nice. So I have 3 different ones here. I'm going to start with this really fine one, and then I'm going to just make some very light doodle marks. I'm pretty much staying 100% abstract with this. Sometimes I try to do like little florals and leaves and stuff, but I just want this to be kind of delicate and pretty, but also all abstract just from my imagination. So I'm going to take this fine liner and I'm going to kind of follow where I have these circles, but I can go outside of that too. I'm just going to kind of let my hand guide me, and I'm just going to keep it a very delicate line, and I might follow along with some of these, almost like I'm pulling a thread across the page. And I'm just going to let it make a light mark there. And I'll come in here maybe a little bit. And as you can see, it's just a very scraggly line. I might put a little loop at the end here. All right, I'm going to pick up where I left off and keep on going. I did this in my recent 8 painting abstract video I did, and I really loved how it came out and the look that it created at the end when you could see just a little bit of it poking through the other layers of paint. So I just thought it was such a pretty look. I'm going to put a little bit coming out here just to add a little something to the middle. And then that's it. We're just going to keep it delicate. I am going to need more on here for contrast. So I was thinking I would maybe do my brush, and I'm not sure. We'll see how this goes. But I might do the same thing, and maybe I'll start, I don't know, maybe here. And I'm going to let it kind of go through just like the pen did, where it was just random. And maybe we'll have a couple of stronger marks where the brush is kind of on its side. And we'll go through some of these areas here and maybe trail off. And maybe I will trail this one in like this. Just like that. And we'll start there and come a little bit finer. And I'm just kind of varying my pressure on this pen and letting it kind of do its own thing. And I love these brushes because you can get pretty fine with it. Almost like sort of random tree branches or something. All right. I like that so far. Okay. I've also got this. This is kind of like a chisel tip, so it's not as flexible as the brush. But what I might do is go around a couple of these circles just to give them some more definition. Just like that. Maybe we'll do one up here in the corner. Yeah. And that really gives us that big pop of contrast. Next, I have this Naples Yellow Deep Amsterdam Acrylic Ink. And so I am going to add some of this also. And I'm going to put it on with my dropper. And so it's actually kind of nice. It has it at like a little angle. And I actually got this on sale at Hobby Lobby when it was on clearance. And I got it at like a real fire sale. They had them kind of like sitting on the shelf, and I think I paid like $1.50 for a whole bunch of these inks, and they're beautiful. I don't know what they were doing, but it was just wonderful. So these I might go a little bit more of a swirly look, and I'm gonna just continue along with that theme. Like that. And maybe I'll rub over some of these to thicken the line. I'm not actually applying any more paint. I'm just kind of going over it again to spread it out a bit. It's pretty opaque, and so it will spread out pretty nicely. And I told myself I would definitely start adding more inks to my artwork because they're so much fun to play with. And they just have a wonderful application. I'm going to color this in a little here. I will drop out a little bit more here because I'm just going to add a little bit of a thicker area, and I can tone down a little bit of that blackness and send it to the back. So it's not quite so in your face. And I'm just going to let that come out there. And just like that. And maybe I'll follow a little bit out here. I think I'm finally out of ink. But I'll just sort of squeeze out what I've got left. All right. I love how this is turning out. All right, one more dry and we'll be back. All right, I'm back. We are all dry. I grabbed my number 8 round. This is synthetic squirrel. It's a Zen art brush, and I'm going to go into my buff titanium, and I haven't really played with this very much, and I'm kind of interested to see what it's about. So I'm going into that, and I'm also going to dip into this raw sienna and kind of mix it together to make a little bit of a creamy color. And I don't really know how much I should be using, but we're going to play around. I'm trying to get a color that matches this yellow that I put down. I'm going to knock a little bit of this back, and I'm hoping that that buff titanium, because it's a little bit opaque, it will knock back a little bit of these black markings. And I think that looks really nice. It just kind of evens it out a bit. So I'm going to see if it does. Oh, I like that. Okay. All right. I'm going to kind of come in here then and add a little bit right here and maybe around this center area. And I'm just going to kind of go easy with it and see where it takes us. I'm going to dip into a little bit more color. I don't want to get too much of that buff titanium in my pan, so I'll dip into that first and get some water, and we'll go from there. And let's just get some cloudiness going on another layer. This is a really beautiful color. And maybe right through here. And I might bring that all the way out to the paper. Like that. And how about up here a little bit? And it seems to have a slight amount of coverage, which is, this can't be just ran by, which is kind of what I'm looking for. I don't want to cover everything up. I just want to add some new marks and just knock that back a slight bit. And you can still see some of the detail coming through, and we have this other layer of color that we've got going down. Like that. I'm going to go back into my indigo, and I'm going to add a little bit of that to this. And I don't want to get that titanium in my palette, so I'm going to just rinse and then dip again. And I really like that. That's kind of like a creamy blue color. So I might add a little bit of that in here too. Why not? I love this. I love how it's turning out. And I'm going to leave these with hard edges. Why not? And we'll just keep this theme going. And this ink kind of naturally resists the watercolor, which is kind of neat. You can kind of see it sort of pulling away from that blue or that yellow ink that's on the paper. I really, really like this a lot. Okay, I've got just a little bit more paint. So I'm going to let it come out here a bit and blend in. Just like that. Awesome. All right. I've got my gold ink. I'm going to put just a little bit in my mixing well. And I'm gonna, this is permanent ink, so basically as soon as I get done using it, I need to wipe out my palette so that it doesn't stick. But I'm also gonna grab this very little brush and moisten it as much as it can be moist. And I'm gonna trace around some of these yellow areas with that gold. And I'm just going through pretty quickly just to add those pops of metallic. I think I put a little too much gold in my palette, but that's okay. I love how this is turning out. I'm going to follow along a little bit here and just let this kind of join together. This is going to look so good. Just wait. I can see it from the side off, probably not at your angle, but oh, it's just wonderful. And I might add just a little bit around this circle here. And okay. If I don't stop, it'll never be done. All right, I'm going to wipe off my brush. and give it a good rinse in my jar. And I'm gonna get this excess out of my palette. And I only put a couple of drops in there, so now we're good to go. Good as new. Now for the moment. All right, I'm gonna do the close-up, and here are our colors. There's our sparkly gold. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. And then you have all the marks we made, and I just wanted it to be organic and fun and just pretty. I really love how this turned out. It's different than what I normally post, but it's just so fun to make. And that abstract painting where I did 8 paintings, it just, I don't know. It really set something loose, I think, because I'm going to really enjoy playing around with this, and I'm going to definitely be making an effort to bring my inks back out more. But I hope that you enjoyed this video today with this little bit of a different style, and if you have some inks laying around, I hope you bring them out and play with them with your watercolor. So I hope you were able to follow along and make something for yourself today. You don't need any special equipment. The only stencil I used was the little cap to my spray bottle of water. So you can grab whatever you have lying around and just have a good time with your project. And I hope to see you again soon. You have a great day, and until next time, keep creating.